Hey, hi, hello, hey, hi, everybody. Social media family. Being of any subscribers and as well any visitors to that being of my own personal immediate channel in our chat room or comment section. How are you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay. If not better yet to be said, to be feeling all right. Or if not best of all to be said, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, your family, friends, hopefully me and mine, likewise, as well, are all the same. And do excuse, pardon, or forgive me if I could possibly be butchering the English language or the American dialect for the umpteen consecutive time in a row. Sorry about that. I apologize, but then I never had claimed to have become or be an English major, neither or nor an English professor. And then furthermore, I would like to apologize for any interruptions that you all may hear during the course of this particular present social media broadcast of video. No, I'm not making reference to any electronic device of communications, be it whether it be of a medium of a television or radio, of my own personal effects, belongings, or possessions, but rather instead, being the likes of this one particular proverbial neighbor from down hell among the dime a dozen public nuisance of problem neighbors. Excuse me, hold that. Hey there, whoever you are, the user that has paid a visit to my comment section, as in other words, chat room to simply say, hope you are doing okay, or whoever that could, you know, view and listen to this particular social media broadcast or video of mine as affecting one time. But then getting back to some or such other, as I think of it with that in my mind's intention to try to backtrack here, with reason or purpose of being, in order so I can go on to following to continue to where and when that my present last left so I can finish up as a complete upon previous prior line thought. And in that same sense of words, so far as concerning the basic intro as an introduction, but then you have the footnotes to the side. And before I were to dive in to this one particular social media broadcast video, being the content thereof, which I am trying to think of it with my intention to deliver a message in due regard in reference to that being of the same of the said in question, and as it would more or less complement the name title for this particular one. And as you all know, as I have informed your person that told you before, how there's this one proverbial neighbor from hell of a public nuisance, a problem neighbor, one of whom has been attempting to give me the business for the longest, for as long as I can remember or care to, being of which I obviously and evidently don't, for reasons or purposes for my person having said so and stated for the record, as I like to try to dwell on the positive more than the negative, although that being of the fact of the matter is that I still have to move as a result of developments of he himself having pulled a whammy upon me, you know, come out his trick bag of scams or schemes after he had managed to get the management of the building of real estate management personnel representatives to confuse me with him, to assume that I am a troublemaker much rather than he himself, after I went through all the proper policies and procedures of protocol, uh, the standard process to state my grievances regarding making reference to a problematic neighbor, as well as I had placed calls to the police, being a members of the law enforcement community, to report disturbances of his continued violations of his apartment rental lease agreement, and as well as his total disrespect for my rights and privileges as his fellow neighbor. But then, whereas one of the real estate management personnel representatives had informed, as in, or told me that he himself had supposedly moved out this one particular problematic neighbor, and yet I am still hearing the same extreme and excessive noises of different sorts or types for that floor level that he is on and for the atmosphere of his supposed so-called old apartment. Now, either his accomplices in crime are taken up from where he himself had last left off, or the new tenant is carrying on like so, misbehaving in one's own right, or maybe both his accomplices in crime and the supposed so-called new tenant. Well, whichever the case or situation may be, it could have possibly become. Nevertheless, I'm hearing the same different sorts or types of extreme and excessive noises upon a daily and a nightly basis for any given day of a week, for any given week, out of a month, for any month out of a year, including for that of the weekends. And yet I am the one that has to move. Ain't that a blip, you know? And whereas this here real estate management personnel representative is like saying to me, well, I have received complaints about you. And I'm like saying, well, check this out. If nobody of those other tenants upon his floor level cannot hear all that noise being made upon a daily and nightly basis, the different sorts of types of extreme and excessive noises being made, rather speaking of plural rather than singular sense of the word, then either they would have to be totally deaf or they would have to be accomplices in crime of his. And then from there, I'm like saying, in addition, and not only have I reported incidents on a regular basis to you all, but likewise, I have called the police upon him a number of times. And for one, as you assume that I myself, being my person, am supposedly the troublemaker rather than him, then how is it for the many times that I have called you all, and likewise the police, upon him, and whereas you all are saying that, well, you in particular that represents the rest of the real estate personnel representatives or your co-employees or co-workers, that you're saying that I have had many complaints lobbied against me, and yet I have had not one police call placed against my person compared to the many police calls that I have gone about placing against him. Now, somebody's lying, and it's most certainly not, definitely not me. But yet, I'm still being told I would have to move. I'm still being told that I would have to be the one to move out, being there because for the simple reason I figure is that I'm only one person, like right, and whereas the management wants to cut corners and take the coward's way out than to deal with the real problem being of this neighbor from damn hell that has been attempting to make my life a living damn hell for longer. Whereas one figures and one's co-workers at that to just get rid of me would be of a lesser loss of rent money than to get rid of him if at all he did move out. But then I was probably told that just so that they could keep me from going to court on them for that legal case issue that deals with that of a misunderstanding, a disagreement between a landlord and tenant. Whereas if they were to get rid of him, then he could possibly get resentment and retaliate by telling his homies, possible and potential or possibly fellow neighbors in the building to move out as well. And whereas that would serve to become or be an even greater rent money lost to the management of the building. You know. But nevertheless, I still have to go about apartment searching. You know, seeing how the ultimatum has not changed. And I really didn't feel like doing anything for the day, after having encountered the persons of characters with conflict of interest, certain landlords that would make other landlords look bad, and as these these certain landlords that I am making reference to are those who would be commonly called and are commonly known as slumlords. And lately, that's all I've been encountering is the likes of the slumlords. I say the slumlords giving me the runaround, sending me on a wild goose chase, just when I think that I could have a possible and potential lead of a promising offer for an available apartment vacancy of a place of residence that I could. Yes, I hate slumlords as well. A usable sentence. Here it is. They disappointed my hopes, had me go all out of my way in all these crazy weather temps, being as it is, only to be greatly disappointed in hearing something else than what I was hoping for. Like saying, why waste my time with all that nonsense? So this is to any of your landlords that could be watching this social media broadcast, you all, whoever, or this particular present video of mine. Don't waste my time. If I were to email you or call you, I mean, you're making other landlords look bad, prospective future landlords, being of whom I could possibly research or want to hold conversation of dialogue with. I mean, I have little or no time to waste. Well, I actually don't have any time to waste because I'm pressing for time. Whereas, disregard what you heard, that's just this neighbor from damn hell that you heard in the background. Anyway, getting back to some of such other. I mean, as I was about to say, as I think of it with that in my mind, attention to backtrack here. These are purposes being known, so I can go on to following to continue for where and when that my person had last left off, so I can finish up as a complete or form of prior line talking the saints of word. Whereas before then, I had something like, more than a couple of months, more than 2 months, like, a few or 3 months, maybe a little over that amount of a time frame period. And now I'm down to less than a couple, less than 2 months. I'm down to a month and a half or a month and 2 weeks, give or take some days, before I were to be kicked out of here for the atmosphere, premises, and property of my present place of residence of an apartment of a unit's atmosphere after I was confused with a neighbor from damn hell, after I was given an ultimatum by this one real estate management personnel representative, the same one that had given me something similar to that, being of an eviction notice, being which is that of a paperwork document of a non-renewal or of apartment rental lease agreement notice. Hold it thought. Yes, I'm in Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde Park vicinity area neighborhood community within the city limits for the Midwest of Chicago, Illinois, USA. So I was answering this one user who was asking me a question of where exactly am I at, something like that, in more words or less. So I paraphrased and not quote exactly his or her exact quote in asking me a question of a nature. Yes. Anyway, though, so neighbor, this neighbor from damn hell, among the dime a dozen public nuisances of problem neighbors, other likes who be violating their apartment rental leases, and at the same time, all the while they disrespect the rights and privileges of their fellow neighbors, who are entitled to peace of mind, had gotten one over on me. And just when I was thinking about just, for the day, and as I reflect upon the, the day before or yesterday, how the weather temps was all crazy, and as not only the mad scientists, but the big business CEOs are still quite regularly attempting to throw a monkey wrench in Mother Nature's program, offsetting the ecological balances of the planet Earth, being in which would have many environmentalists in an uproar. I say, for example, Greta Thunberg. So I was just gonna, just be laid back in my apartment, and just, you know, how do you say, chill, or just be melancholy and so forth. But then it's like I'm hearing the voice of God saying, "Get up, compose a social media broadcast or video, you know, that is make one, produce it, some and such for the greater glory." I mean, where is your faith? Have I brought you this far just so you could give up, throwing the towel? If that's the case, then you may as well just go ahead and end your own life or commit suicide. And I'm not a stranger to suicide attempts. You know, one of my suicide attempts in years past was when I was homeless at a rescue mission, men's shelter. You know, but God made a way out of no way. I didn't die. I was treated at a hospital, and that's not a good feeling. To have that 800-pound gorilla of suicide or homicide on your back. Then, if it were to come to the latter, hopefully it would only be as a matter of self-defense. You hear what I'm saying? Anyway, though, so I was really just going to, I was just going to call it a day. Reflecting on that, reflecting upon what's on the horizon for me, possible and potential homelessness of jeopardizing existence that could really be a threat to both my mental and physical general welfare, not to mention my spirituality. And I get to reflect on how I could possibly become or be someone or a person similar to one of those bag ladies you see out here pushing a shopping cart. I'm like, what in the world? After all the trouble I went through to get this here place of my present atmosphere, premise properties, a place of residence units, atmosphere, only to encounter just another neighbor from damn hell. Dickhead prick is that. Let me see. No, I got to scratch that. So be trying to get right with God, trying to put in God's. Let's run to another neighbor from damn hell character among the dime a dozen public nuisances, problem neighbors. And this one, trust me, has been coming off for a long. It's like a real psycho, like a real psychopath, sociopath, sadomasochist, sadist, Cali bully, terrorist wannabe. You know, more creep than an idiot and a crackpot. I mean, after all, he had managed to successfully have me be given walking papers, than which he should have received much rather instead. So it's back to square one, back to the drawing board, having to get out in these streets to do apartment searching, trying to think to find me another place of residence of an available apartment vacancy before the deadline. Before I myself, being that I'm my person, I'm kicked to the curb, with or without my personal effects, belongings, or possessions, unless I could finally decide to seriously get a real estate lawyer or attorney involved as counsel for the defense. But from there, I could buy some time for myself, and be able to save up money, not only for moving expenses, but to pay rent elsewhere at a new place of residence of available apartment vacancy that I could become the tenant thereof. regardless of whether or not I have any bank money, regardless of whether or not I have any money in the bank as a present given time. You know, yeah. I mean, after all that trouble I went to to find this place of residence, and fill out and sign an apartment rental lease, and then to have, you know, passed a housing inspection and everything, and now after something like a year or so, a couple of give or take months, weeks, I'm now having to move out. I mean, I get to thinking then, what was it all worth? You know, I mean, wow. What was the use of getting this place if I have to move out now because it's one neighbor from damn hell? You know, like, whereas from time to time, at time I would be like, could you please tone it down? Slap on a wall to my apartment. Could you please tone it down? Not cut out the nonsense, the noises altogether. You know, and with the very minute I get to ranting and raving about him provoking me, you know, whereas the management of the building for the downstairs office, those real estate management personnel representatives, obviously would drag their butts about, you know, researching matters and investigate my complaints against this. But the very minute he calls in upon me, they're like at lightning speed seeing what he wants. And so I can only imagine what could have possibly probably happened with from there. They're like outside my apartment door, eavesdropping, listening to me ranting, raving about this neighbor from damn hell, whatchamacallit, to put it like that. And then they get to confusing me with him. Oh no, that will never do. Oh, this, and how many? Like, where's a couple of few of them could be listening outside my apartment door, eavesdropping. Can you hear that? Yeah. Oh, whispering. Oh, he gotta go. He gotta go. Oh, no. We will not have any of this. But so far as to investigate my complaints before I were to get to rant and raving about this character and getting up there in time to find out where the noise is coming from on his floor and dragging their butts. The very minute he provoked me, then he calls in. Yeah, get down to floor level, blah, 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 blah. And you can hear him ranting and raving right now, talking a bunch of uh, 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 violent, crazy stuff about what he'd do to me and all that, cussing, swearing like a drunken sailor on shore leave, ready to paint the town red with his drinking buddies. I mean, go down there and see what's going on. I mean, go up. You know what I mean? But he's on the floor above me, and they're below. Go up there and see. Like for the neighbor that's on the floor level below me, below mine. You can hear him yourself. I kid you not. But when I call in about all the bumping and stomping he's doing to provoke me, the bumping and the stomping and the dropping things on the floors and the dragging things across the floors and the bouncing things off the walls and the ceilings and the banging on the pipes and whatever else for that matter during the daytime when they're here, yet to drag their butts about investigate. And when they're not here, he cuss up that much more. Not only when they leave the downstairs business office for the day to call it a night, then he gets to carry on that much more. But even so, before they even show up for work during the course of the day, during daylight hours, he's cutting up, making all those different sorts of types of extreme excessive noises upon a daily and nightly basis, especially at night when they leave the downstairs business office, leave to go to their own homes or houses, call it a night, then he really goes at it. Like say for this last, as recently as and even after that, recently asked for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. He was carrying on non-stop, practically all together. Hours on end. The bumping and the stomping So I was so irate. I sent one of the real estate management personnel representatives a text message. and I did cuss in it, and call. I think I called her the B word, and so that could have played in she herself giving me paperwork documents similar to an eviction notice, because I was pissed, you know, I was pissed. To add insult to injury, whereas they want to accuse me of being a troublemaker, and then I'm still hearing all this nonsense come from the real troublemaker. So yeah, I called her the B word. I was pissed, and whereas this one particular real estate personnel representative, she has the sly habit of folding up pieces of paper and then handing it to me. Whereas the last time she had done that was she had not only handed me a folded up piece of paper being a receipt for my rent payment, but also that other folded up piece of paper being just that, something similar to an eviction notice. You know, really now. And was expecting me not to look at it until I left the building was long gone elsewhere. But somebody had to be God told me to look at it then and there. And sure enough, that's what it was. And then it's like saying to me, "Oh yeah, do you think you could to keep it down? There are other." I'm like, "Keep it down." I'm like, "What the?" Tell the damn neighbor from damn hell that has been attempting to drive me completely bonkers for the longest, as well as he finally managed to, drive me out of house and home with you all confusing me with him. You tell him to keep it down. When some such they give me their slip of paper, then I got a copy of it. Yeah, as a given. I threw the original. I bought it up through that at her feet. So walked out. So this is where I'm at the moment. And now I got to get out of here and try to go about this business apartment searching once again. Although I really don't feel like it for today with these crazy weather temps, these partly man-made weather temps, because it's really not all natural. It's unnatural and abnormal. A great percentage of these here weather temps. I got to get out of here regardless. Because I'm pressed for time. Time is fleeting. I'm down to a month and a half now. You know, and hopefully I finally encounter a landlord that's not a licensed slumlord that wants to play games with the many different apartment searchers, apartment seekers. I mean, anytime you have a slumlord want to be like holding you hostage over phone, you know, and be like, let me see what I got here. Just hang up, or be like, let me see, I got a list of places telling you about the different areas, but not getting to the meat of the story, the specific details, like what are the units, what are the light studios, one bedroom, how much are they going for? Just hang up. I don't have time for that F and BS. Or want to send you to a voice mailbox retrieval system. Just hang up. You know, I'll be damned if I be putting up with that anytime too soon. Again, because I'm like, unless I can engage in a live conversation or dialogue with a supposed so-called prospective future landlord, then I'll be the one sending you a message one way or another, that voice, the mail message, email message, the voicemail message. I don't have time to be like, then transfer to some or such other. Just talk to me in a live telephone conversation. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next supposed so-called prospective future landlord. Because I don't know when you could have a man to call me. You may never call me, as far as I know. That all depends. And hopefully, the present landlord hasn't put in a bad word against me with any prospective future landlords. After all that I've been through, put through here, and add insult to injury, whereas they have confused me with the very neighbor from damn hell that has been attempting to make my life a living damn hell for as long as I can remember or care to remember, again, which I don't. But anyway, I'm about to close shop, y'all, and by saying, because I got to get out here and get to back to the grinding stone, go about the next day business hand of apartment search. Then, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your vein by recognizing and realize what He Himself had done and did upon the cross of Calvary on the glory, suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers up on orders of their superiors, being militarist, political, religious ones, etc. But then, nevertheless, where she went to that cross of Calvary, become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. So that if any of us being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, fashion of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old, young, like both two sexual genders, male and female, represent not only the human species, but then nevertheless the global community within this post 911 era of our new millennium, as apocalyptic age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes to midnight compared on to our former period prior to then with the quarter midnight for these rather biblically prepared time. Were to profess some such faith in him, from there we become a be blessed in one regard or another, in more ways than one. First and foremost, with his salvation, then which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become or be considered as citizens of the kingdom of heaven, and that fire and insurance policy of his blood sacrifice and salvation against the lake of fire down hell. And then second of all, with his deliverance, first you have got to get his salvation. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far as blessings are concerned. Then where's your final destination will be the lake of fire, damn hell. If and when, boy, we all will. If and when. There's no if to it. That's just for speak. But whenever you were to, make that transition for the great beyond of the hereafter, of the afterlife, you know, and whereas from there you will be assembled with the rest of the unsaved, lost, damned human souls of unbelievers and non-believers to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and his demons forever, compared to how we as believers in God will be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell. In the company of like-minded believers, as in Christians, aka Protestants, and in the presence of God and his angels otherwise. Then because God is not to be mocked, what you sow is what you shall reap, If you don't have Christ's salvation, then get it now while the blood is still running warm in your veins. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not BK once you get on over to the other side. You can't have it your way. Unless you're one of those few that will become subject to experiencing one of those beyond and back experiences, whereas you get a second chance at the offer of Christ's salvation to save your immortal human soul from a burning damn hell, then if you become one of those of the majority of most who don't get a second chance, then you're there in the lake of fire down hell forever, for all eternity, regardless of how much it would be pleased with Christ to hear your agonizing pleas to be able to get out of the damn hell. It's not happening. It's a done deal. Finish. Finito. You know. And the life you save may be your own. Ain't no, oh, now I believe you, Lord. Oh, yes. I want you to become my Savior. Oh, my God. Oh, please. Get me out of this damn hell. I don't want to be here anymore. Lord, I believe. Oh, Lord. Please. Hear my cries. I believe. I don't want to be in damn hell anymore, Lord. Hell on earth is one thing, but real hell elsewhere. Oh, how much less do I want to be here? Oh, Lord, I believe. I now accept you as my personal Lord and Savior. No, it don't work like that, you all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking about what others could possibly go through in a real damn hell. And a tear to my eye. Think that some of my relatives could be in hell. Other friends of my family, strangers. I mean, to go through hell in this world is enough of a hell. Why risk going to the real hell elsewhere? You know what I'm saying, you all? Like I said, the life you save may be your own. Consider the thought, Don't waste another moment or another minute if it is presented unto you to accept Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, to accept His salvation. Being because tomorrow is not promised to anybody. You could be like walking the street, uh, trying to cross, walking the sidewalk, trying to cross the street. You know what I mean? Say, as a pedestrian. For speech continue rather than mind compared to how to to conclusion. Then, as you're doing so, before you know it, a 2-ton motor vehicle or automobile could come out of nowhere and jump a curb and collide with your physical body, and then in an instance, snap, crackle, and pop, you're gone. And then what do you think you will be? And damn hell, burning, the lake of fire, the devil and the demons gnawing and clawing on you, saying, "We got another one, a human shish kebab," Or you could be like a passenger in a car and wind up in a car accident where your clock could stop ticking and you be elsewhere of the atmosphere the same, the same question, the form predefined mention. Or you could be on a train. The train could jump a track and hit the street below. And then you could be one of the casualties. Then where would you be? Or you could be in a plane. A plane could crash into a mountain while you're a passenger. And then where would you be? Think about it. Life is like a vapor. And it used to be a time where they would say, here today, gone tomorrow. Now the new saying compared to that old one is here today, gone today. You could be walking down the street. You could be like in a store, mind your own business, shopping, you know, as a family member or a husband or a wife with your spouse and children. And some mad shooter could go up in there and start shooting up the place, and you could catch one of the ricochet bullets. Then where would you be as an unsaved unbeliever, non-believer? You'd be a lost damn soul in a lake of fire, damn hell. You burn there for all eternity. You all take care and be safe. Get salvation if you don't have it already. And I can't say when I will produce another social media broadcast video. I mean, I thought I still have a deadline. I have to find me another place rather than of an apartment vacancy before I be out of doors, before I were to become homeless. You all take care. Peace.